Welcome to the Early Risers Club Presents podcast. We originally recorded these episodes of Season 1 in March of 2020 at the very beginning of the coronavirus pandemic and lockdown. We hope you enjoy the conversations we had with the artists as we talk about the stories behind the songs and the process that went into making them.
Here we are again.
Early Risers Club presents.
Early Risers Club presents.
I'm Bruce Bukovich.
I'm Carly Bear.
I'm James Hall.
James is our special guest today.
Also an early riser.
James, what time do you normally wake up, would you say? You're like a 5 a.m. guy, right?
I am, but being that there's a social distancing going on, I've been able to sleep as late as 6, maybe 6:30. So It's been a little bit of a different footprint for me. So Atlanta's a city that really struggles with traffic, and so having the social distancing and then also kind of the work from home mandate has meant that I can plan on there being a little less traffic on the road.
Yeah, it's weird how carless the roads have been.
Yeah.
It's usually jam-packed.
Yeah, I've heard that about Atlanta. That's got to be crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Odd, and it does kind of resemble The Walking Dead at moments. So,
what time do you wake up at the motel after pulling like an all-nighter writing lyrics?
I try and get up 7:30 or something like that there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different, and and that technically for me is fairly late because I'm an hour behind in Eastern time in Atlanta, and the holiday is on Central. So it's, I get off my schedule a little bit, but I try not to cheat on sleep.
Well, what's the...
Exactly.
Because, James, you really started rolling back your awake time to like 4:30 or something, right? Did you do that recently? But then dial it back to 5?
Yeah, dial it back to 5 because that was bullshit. Not to just sum it up to like one profanity, but it was just, trying to get away with being awake at 4:30, and then everything that I'm interested in doing toward the back end of my day meant that, really, in all honesty, you should be getting to bed at 8:30, and 8:30 is a little bit like, assisted living. It's associated with sundowning and some other things that happen in the mental hospitals. So, 5 has been working better for me, and I'm not militant about it. There are some days where I'll be waking up at 5:30 or something like that. But being that early means that I've still got some time to play with before I go in and work. 7 is pretty safe, I guess. Yeah, but by 7, I'm into my first cup of coffee and first page of journaling. So
that's another thing. You're always so good about the journaling. Yeah, I remember one time, because I usually before Bruce started coming to the festivals, I would come down to the diner and journal, while I was the only one awake. But I would see you occasionally, and one time I came down and people were already in the diner and they were like making noise and stuff, and I was like, this is not conducive to my writing. And I walked into the lobby and you were sitting on one of the couches and you were writing, and I was like, can I just sit here and write with you?
Yeah. No, it's a good way.
It's a good way to start the day.
It's a good way to start the day. For me, a couple of things too as well. It's like I usually, doesn't matter what nightmare I had or what exchange or negative exchange I had with a loved one or family member or whatever, journaling kind of created a tabula rasa for me, like a kind of a net zero. And then the other thing is, like, as a songwriter who's agonized over lyrics and worried whether they're good enough or not, journaling kind of helps me master my anxieties over the quality, because the quality's not in my control, or at least in my philosophy. The quality's not in my control. It's the quantity that's in my control. And the fact is that if I've journaled already, then writing a lyric to something doesn't seem to be that huge of a hurdle.
Right.
So that for me, that it's been a good practice. And so that's about 15 years of it now. I mean, not quite at 15 years of it, but somewhere around there I started. And,
Do you still have all your journals?
Well, they're right there on the wall.
Oh, so 15 years worth. How many notebooks is that, roughly?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 34.
Wow.
Yeah.
But so journaling has kind of has helped me, has cured me. And then I think the other thing that I started recognizing is that I really have a value on both hemispheres working well with each other or working together. And journaling also does that too as well. And I've worked to kind of supercharge that with journaling in my left hand 5 days a week.
Oh, that's right.
And then journaling in my right hand 2 days a week.
I think that's great.
Yeah, so it's cool that you're still doing that. I know you were doing it at Love on Holiday.
Well, I did it. I've been sleeping kind of late a little bit this week, so I've been more right-handed journaling this week. But
probably for efficiency's sake, yeah.
Yeah, but because it's a little bit slower on the left hand. I'll say it's clearer, but it is a little bit slower. But at the interest
join the
is in the balance.
Southpaw side, James.
Southpaws
have more fun.
Southpaws have fun, but there's a lot of people that I really love and trust that they shoot basketball with their right hand, but then they'll pick up a pen and write something with their left hand. So it's really, I truly believe it's more about the balance of it. And that's not that I am destined to become ambidextrous. It's not that, but I just think that being willing to consider that if there is a God, he gave me two hemispheres and two hemispheres with which to work. And so, trying to value my logical and my practical hemisphere as much as my creative, at this point in my life. That's been more of a thing for me. Is I didn't really struggle to value my creative brain. I think I've done a pretty good job of that. But of late I've really worked hard at getting into the balance. And then, we're making as creatives and as musicians, we're making so many decisions, working on a song. Okay, well, how long do we wait before the chorus comes? Do we start the song with a chorus? And then one person might say, okay, well, that's a left brain decision. And then another person might say, well, that's a right brain decision. Are you kidding me? And so it gets really convoluted sometimes because you can't really draw a direct line to it, because you could say on one hand, okay, well, we're going to have a song and it's not going to have a chorus. And that would be maybe perhaps a right brain decision. But on the other side of it, if your belief in the repeat or the refrain for the song is so strong, that's a practical, that's the left brain working there. So it's hard to really trace the impulses to one hemisphere over the other. My conviction is that it's really a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm.
I can totally see that. I relate to that. Find the balance.
Yeah.
Find the balance.
Find the balance.
Yeah.
So let's play some songs.
Okay.
Let's play some songs. But before we play some songs, actually, I wanted to just ask you, James. So you've been coming to the festival since the beginning, right?
I have been coming to the festival since 2007, but I believe that there was a 2006.
There was a 2006. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you meet Pat McDonald?
I met Pat McDonald in person on a train from Orly Airport to the Castle. My friend Adam McIntosh, who had recently moved to New Orleans from San Francisco, I've met in San Francisco a couple of times over the years through Eric McFadden, but Adam McIntosh had passed me along Pat McDonald's Sleeps with His Guitars LP. And as a result of hearing that and seeing the photography on that record and the artwork on that record, I recognized him right away as soon as I got on the train. And so I get on the train with my guitar case, and Pat identifies me, and he's like, "Yeah, you go to the Castle?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, he held his hand out and says, "Pat McDonald." And I shook his hand and I said, "James Hall." I said, Pat McDonald sleeps with his guitars. And he's like, oh, you know that record? I said, yeah. So we sat down and really talked for the entirety of the rest of the way there. It was pretty neat. And he's like, well, I was like, I've got some sway at this festival. If you want to, we could write a song together, And so we ended up writing Goodnight, My Friend together. And so,
nice.
Yeah, toward the back end of the week. It was a really good experience. So
that's great.
And my first experience with his method by which he works. But that was a great week for a variety of different reasons, because it was really my first exposure to a rainbow of different creative styles, a rainbow of different collaborative styles. So Pat McDonald was among one of them, and at one point in the writing session, when we were at a roadblock or whatever, or in need of a third verse, he's like, yeah, we go for a walk? Took a walk. So we took a walk around the property there, and I hadn't really done it, nor had I really considered it. And so that was pretty neat to just kind of get a chance to jar the mind a little bit, and then kind of return to the page with fresh eyes. So I wrote that there. I wrote Here Comes the Trick there with a friend, Tom Schuyler. I got a chance to write with Lisa Loeb and Paul Thorne. It was really quite a remarkable experience.
That's cool. That's a cool story.
Cool experience.
All right, now I think we're ready to get to some songs. What should we kick it off with?
So, The Girl Who Wasn't There.
Okay.
Why'd you pick that, James?
From the moment that I heard the opening chord and melody in the lobby of the Holiday Music Motel, I don't even think Sam was sitting on a seat. He was sitting on the bench just at the base of the stairs, and it was perhaps even getting close to performance day. It was like back end of the week, but he started strumming through the opening line, "Let me tell you a story," and it just grabbed me right there. And Sam has just got a great command of the jazz chords and just a great electric meets acoustic, or really organic kind of style of playing. And that was even before I even heard it at listening session. I probably heard it at listening session way back, even after we started performing. But that song was, I think it's one of those songs that made me jealous, and I think that as a songwriter, and I have a friend, Jim Troglin in Alabama, who often refers to, man, that song just makes me mad. I just got angry when I heard it. And I think that, the impetus is there, that like as a songwriter, we can get jealous sometimes, and we kind of like, man, God dog it, he did it again,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's those Beach Boys, Beatles harmonies.
Yeah.
That you hear it and you're like, how can you do that so easily? So it's
it was during the tap rehearsal that I think maybe I must have heard it at listening, unless it was one of the later in the week listening sessions that it got played. But I was trying to take a nap in the seats, and I was like, I didn't have anything to do, but I think I had a song that was going to get rehearsed later down the list, so I had to stick around. And I'm like sitting in the seats, and I'm kind of grumpy, and I'm like trying to sleep, and all of a sudden they start playing that song, and I woke myself up, and I was like, what is this song? It's really good.
Very catchy, and I think that it's not even like the harmonies, it's the melody of it, and it's the melody and then the fairly matter-of-fact lyric to it,
and internal rhyme, like really well executed.
Yeah, I mean, I've even gotten that deep to it. All I know is that if that song hadn't happened, I wouldn't have been motivated to write Nancy Drew Blood, or
nice.
motivated into that mold, because it's Nancy Drew Blood, and like, where you had kind of the West Coast sound, and The Girl That Wasn't There has that West Coast kind of beachy pop kind of sound. Nancy Drew Blood has a little bit of the Carnaby Street, Camden Town British beer hall kind of thing to it, which is they're kind of relatives of each other. The Kinks and the Beach Boys, yes, they're opposite ends of the Atlantic and the States, but at the same time, beat-wise, they did have a little bit of kind of a boppy, upbeat kind of thing. And that was something that grabbed me right away about The Girl Who Wasn't There, and it did inspire Nancy Drew Blood too.
That's awesome. So this is from Dark Songs 2018, written by Tarl Knight and Sam Lyons. This is The Girl Who Wasn't There.
The Girl Who Wasn't There by Tarl Knight and Sam Lyons. That was Tarl on vocals, acoustic guitar, and the organ, Sam Lyons on vocals, acoustic guitar, and the bass, and Nicholas Raymond on the drums. Dark Songs 2018.
Great.
Recorded by Teve Myth.
Teve Myth.
That song just makes me completely doubt myself. Like, why am I even here?
I get what you were saying about it. That song makes me mad.
Yeah, I can't do that. Like, it just, I love it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good choice, James. Good choice.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think it's a matter of can do it or can't do it. It's can I allow it to happen? And because it influenced me. There's no question about it. I was just thinking, how am I not going to hear this song all week? And that was back in October, I was saying, and that's when Nancy Drew Blood got written. And it's possible that those two are in the same key, and the first two chords are exactly the same. I don't know, but I'm grateful that something different did happen for Jamie, Mike, Andrew, and myself when it came to Nancy Drew Blood too as well.
It's really cool how the thread of influence can kind of go in many different directions. One song you hear inspires you, makes you feel a certain way, makes you try in other aspects and areas. So like that song just kind of morphs and evolves in other songs, or at least the spirit, or at least what it evokes.
Yeah.
Can kind of grow from there. And
I think that's the sort of essence of what we do as songwriters, is that we take our influences, things that have been impactful on us over time, and sort of synthesize them and bring them in whatever tangential form into the works that we're currently doing. And it's interesting when you're aware of that, and you can sort of pinpoint like, oh, I see where this person made an impact, or I see where that thing left an impression on me, because now here it is showing up in the stuff that I'm doing. And so I think that's really cool. Oh man, I just like that just makes me want to burst out into song, but I won't. We're gonna keep this train on the rails.
Yeah, well, we can burst into song. We can go down our playlist here. We got some things to play.
Yeah,
Bruce, you're really nailing these segues, I gotta say.
Keeping the train rolling. These are your words. So I'm just learning from the best. So one more James Hall tune.
Okay.
A James Hall request for Girl in a Box.
Okay, Girl in a Box.
Andrea Wickens and Liv Mueller.
The 230. 230
Dark
Hit Factory.
Songs 2013.
My first Dark Songs. Why did you pick this song, James?
I picked that song because really from the first time that I heard it, it just arrested me, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was so beyond anything that I would write, or even attempt to write, at least at that point in time. The Andrea described some of the chording as common tone, which is basically one note running throughout a progression, and that's something that I've been interested in a long time. In fact, if I can distill all of my songs down to one chord, I'm really interested in doing that. But common tone is an effective way of being able to have something running through a diverse chord progression. Now, this is getting into science right here, but that song has that. The imagery is so rich. How Andrea and how Liv sing together. How Liv elects to harmonize. Liv doesn't harmonize like your garden variety run-of-the-mill, backing vocalist or accompanist or duettist. She's got a sense about melody and harmony that speaks uniquely to her, that inspires her uniquely, both on guitar and on vocals.
That's great.
All right, so from Dark Songs Volume 5, this is Girl in a Box.
I signed on the line. How could I know it was just smoke and mirrors? Hey, give it a try. Don't ask why. They could be wrong about you. All glitter and stars. I was not far from losing my head over you. There's magic in hearts. Come as you are. It's magic that you can pay for. I'm the girl who spins for tokens, disappears, but I'm not broken. Fold me in
there are some songs that, even though as a writer and a creative, you've been exposed to so much across the week of songwriting, and you've heard so many things at listening session, you know, there are times where it's just like I need to go on input again. You know, I need to kind of go on silence for a little while. And yet that song right there just leveled me to where it's like, I think I could listen to 10 more songs in listening session now.
Mm-hmm. Mark of a good and great song. Well, Carly.
Yeah.
It looks like it might be time to spill the beans.
Oh, is it time to spill the beans?
Spill the beans.
This is our new favorite thing.
So with this part of the show, James, we like to highlight a song and basically show just how a song is born, you know, from the idea to what it eventually turns into, and the whole process along the way. And for you, we wanted to talk about Darlene because you have quite the treasure trove of early demos and little bits that are great to mine, because we can play, you know, the progression of the song from idea to, you know, full-fledged rock and roll tune.
Yeah. I have to give credit where credit is due here. I'm truly beholden to Magic Sam from Chicago, who wrote a song called Feeling Good. And Alex Wilson and Barrett played it. And it's just an instrumental, but it's got that good kind of full Pentecostal rave up kind of thing happening to it. And they must have played the song for like 20 minutes or so, because it's just like one long guitar solo, and it's just all in the key of A.
Nice.
But it was such a great kind of almost 50s beat.
Take us back to the beginning, James. Was this a spin or was it an outside write? Like who all wrote it? Like where did the actual writing start?
That would actually be a little bit murky. So I saw Alex Wilson and Barrett play a set at the Brick Lot as a jam one evening, and I couldn't figure out why they were playing the same riff and the same chords in the same key for 21 minutes, and I wasn't bored. Not one bit bored. And it dawned on me that a lot of it was really just feel. It's just like, yeah, they played, and they played with a lot of feel. Well, maybe a year later, I don't know, I was driving in my car to work, and I started, you know, like a beat started presenting itself to me. Which could call to mind 100 different pop songs. You know, we got to call to mind Dolly Parton's 9 to 5. It could call to mind TV on the radio, a bunch of different things. But it occurred to me that there was something there worth considering, and I just started yelping over it.
I think we have an example of that.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Check this out. This was labeled Darlene Early Car Demo.
With a song again, darling. Have I seen more people in the field, darling? Have you seen more different things?
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's, you know, steering wheel drums and,
Yeah.
you know, like you've got something there. You've got kind of the aggressive, like,
The yelping
groove to it.
Yeah, and the thing I like about it, I think, at least it does in that incarnation, is that, like, it doesn't very cleanly assign itself to anything. You know, it's
Right.
and maybe, and this is something that maybe only songwriters know, it's like the rawest of pitch. You know, it's like you're pitching somebody something that's like, it's as strong and fragile as a spider web. You know, a spider web to a spider is very, very, very strong, but a spider web to a human being is is easy to just walk through.
So, Carly, how did you and Vincent Gates get involved?
As I recall, this was
Because this spanned more than just one festival.
Yeah, it was.
Didn't it?
Yeah,
Is that right?
it was a year, I think, between starting and finishing. At least where we were concerned. I was kind of walking around the motel. I was done with everything, all of my obligations, and James, you were sitting in the diner, and you were kind of riffing on it. And I was like, "What you doing?" And I kind of invited myself onto it from what I remember. And I think Vince was doing a similar thing where we were kind of, because that's for the people who maybe haven't experienced it. You know, there's a lot of trolling at times. You know, where you kind of just like walking around, just kind of seeing what's going on and who's doing what, and you know. And so Vince and I ended up in the diner while James, you were kind of vamping on this thing. And so it sort of became, the three of us. And then we went to your room that night and tried to, like, you know, draw a bead on, like, who is Darlene and what's the story here.
Right. Okay. In fact, I think we had a chorus from that one episode there. So
yeah, we had the chorus, but we couldn't nail down the verses that first attempt. I don't
get
think.
the character right. Yeah, we had trouble getting the character right. And I believe it was still daylight out, but we were making a nice racket. Yeah, so there was not a spin. It was considered a side right, which is, in other words, a song gone rogue, or a song that wasn't really authorized necessarily. But it was kicking up a lot of noise, and even in fact, Alex Wilson was walking down the hall, and he's like, "What's that?" And thankfully, it's a different enough thing from Feeling Good to this for Magic Sam. It's, you could see there's a relation, but it's not, direct. But it started coming to light that, okay, if you have $1 million wedding and $1 divorce as like your kind of hook point and your repeat, that these are, perhaps is a wedding of some pretty unsavory characters. And it started, I think that maybe we even had that first line, after sifting through the wreckage and just gazing on that shameful scene. That started it was almost like Great Balls of Fire or something like that. Goodness gracious, Great Balls of Fire. So it seemed to be that there was a little bit of a character that was wanting to present itself in the lyrics. I feel a kinship with a method actor, because it does mean adopting the traits of the character that you're working, the character that you're studying. And this song is kind of very much that, but it also, I kind of dig the fact that it's kind of open-ended to interpret it as a rockabilly, to interpret it as a skiffle, to interpret it as a country song, to interpret it as a rocker. It can kind of, to interpret it as even a techno song. It's got the push bass of a techno. So, it could go anywhere. And that's what I kind of dig about it.
Let's check out what it started to sound like once other people started to get involved with it. Because it definitely started to take on it like a life of its own. Like you're saying, like different pieces were starting to come together. So this is an earlier, or I guess a later demo. I don't know who all would be playing on it at this point.
Through the wreckage, gazing a shameful scene, I began to get the message. It was all on account of Darlene. Darlene, do you feel remorse, Darlene? We get all of us. You got $1 million wedding and $1 divorce. You got $1 million wedding and $1 divorce, Darlene.
Yeah, so at that point, you had a verse, you had the solid chorus.
At that point, you're in Southwest Louisiana. At that point, that's just all there is to it. It's like it's got the clapboard church to it. It's got the ham bone, and then at that point, I think that was the room demo. So in other words, when we had kind of set, and it's probably a year later from that kind of jam session that we had at Love on Holiday a year prior. a year later, we had started to really seat the lyrics and talk about, okay, well, how's this sing? Does this seat well with you and stuff? But sometimes a song, it takes the time it takes. So we started really combing through this song and the lyric, and then we started. I started really liking the character somewhat, and hopefully Carly, you and Vince did. At least certainly we got into the repeat of it. And,
it's really easy to get into.
Good, and that's a song that I'm really happy that happened.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Happy.
So at this point in the process, when the song was written, you did the room demo, and you bring Pat McDonald into the room to have a final listen and approve it for recording. Did he have any opinions?
He actually did come in the room pretty early. I don't know whether he happened by the year prior. It seemed like I don't remember him at the finish of the song. I remember him at kind of the outset of the song. In other words, the beginning of the song, like maybe the year prior that we were kind of dicking around with it and we're talking about, okay, well, it's like, who's this character? What's going on? Seems like a fucked up scene. The reception was a wreck. Like we're trying to like draw up all of this stuff and thought about wedding cake and all of that kind of thing. And I think by the time that we were ready to track it at Steve Hamilton's, like it was a force of nature.
Yeah, I think that's right.
We all felt like, okay, damn, this is going to be pretty good,
Well, let's check out that version. This is you on vocals and guitar, Alex Wilson on guitar, Matt Spottle on drums, Greg Rotek on bass, Carly Bear and Vincent Gates on vocals.
Awesome.
And this is from, let's see, it's Love on Holiday Volume 7. What year?
It was it's technically Love on Holiday 2018.
Okay, because that's when it's finished.
Because that's when it was finished.
Darling, do you feel remorse?
So that was Darlene from the Love on Holiday 2018.
Yes.
But songs don't stop there. They still go on even after the festivals.
I just wanted to say one more quick little thing about the spirit grabbing you, because I remember at one of the after jams at Butch's, and it might have been the festival where we finished it, but I had my big old heavy parka because it was 2 degrees because it's February in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, and I was walking to Butch's, and I think maybe I stopped to talk to somebody. And I heard the dun 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 through the walls of the bar happening on the inside. And I was like, I gotta go. And I ran directly onto the stage in my big heavy parka. There's a photo somewhere. I was just like, I can't, once you hear that, it's just like, I'm helpless to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an infectious groove that you get a little bit of it and you're like, ooh, I want to go where that's coming from.
I gotta be there.
Yeah.
That's well put. In fact, that's a really good segue, I think, into the Steady Wicked's version of it. Because it's it almost like doesn't matter what dressing a throbbing pulse like that is in it. It's sort of like a bell tolling, or it's a call to arms in a certain way. It's a call to arms for those that like to boogie.
Yeah, that is the perfect description of it.
Yeah, so let's check out the evolution of a song from the holiday till it gets out into the wilds of the world. This is Darlene by James Hall and the Steady Wicked from our album All Horns and Halos.
The day I fell under that spell, took me 7 years to get up and walk from a match made in hell. Darling, do you feel remorse, darling? We got all of course. You got $1 million wedding and $1 divorce. You got $1 million wedding and $1 divorce, darling.
That was me and James and the Steady Wicked doing our version of Darlene. It's neat, even for me, like I can listen to that and hear the evolution of the song. And what I like about us doing this section is once you hear something and it's from outside of the festivals, you really start to see like that particular songwriter's personality in the song. All right, James, so what's your one tip or piece of advice for today? What's the one thing you learned today that you would either like to share or think might be useful to other people?
Okay, well, maybe not for today, but kind of for this week and dealing with a lot of anxiety in the news and in the media. And what I'm learning is that like people do need to feel that they can voice their fears. They need to feel that they can voice things they're afraid of or things that might frighten them. And we as listeners and as friends and as family can hear them and not necessarily feel we must take ownership of them. And in fact, when we're capable of listening to somebody without judgment and without judging them for kind of where they're coming from or how crazy whatever they're saying might sound, oftentimes a loving rationale will emerge. Because, if we're really talking about the difference between fear and paranoia, fear, depending on the context, is either rational or irrational. But paranoia is considered to be irrational fears. And it's really up to the individual to conclude that, actually, this is probably never going to happen. Why am I driving myself crazy about that? no one's ever really been shamed into arriving at that on their, from somebody else. They arrive at that insight by themselves typically, but it's usually in the work of somebody who's a gentle enough listener in order to hear kind of where they're coming from and not to judge them. Mm-hmm. Just listen.
Thanks, James. That's powerful.
So.
I think that's really good.
It means a lot, and I'm sure almost everyone can relate to it or follow it and hopefully be uplifted with that, because everyone needs it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when I think about how many of my lower choices were inspired by either latent or very direct fears, most would be the answer to that. Most of my bad choices, most of my bad decisions, most of my scrapes with law have been from me being afraid something would or wouldn't happen and acting on a fight or flight mindset, as opposed to really asking myself, is this really truly going to happen? Am I really going to be in the poorhouse? Am I really going to be so poor that I'm going to be naked and I'm going to have to walk around in my pajamas? And when we can actually arrive at how irrational sometimes our own fears are ourselves, we can sometimes give the loving art of listening to others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard it said once that worrying was like a down payment on a debt that might never come due. Yeah. And I liked I liked that thought, because it's like, it's not like worrying is gonna solve anything. Mm-mm. But we do it anyway. But so it's a nice reminder to just breathe through it and, think about the likelihood. Yeah. And just sort of take things as they come and don't worry about what's happening when it happens.
Yeah. I mean, whatever happens, we don't give up. If it's fight or flight, it's fight. Ultimately, facing it, no matter what it is, take it for what it is, point blank. Yeah. We can't lie to ourselves. We can lie to other people. Yeah. We can try to lie to ourselves, but you really can't.
You really can't. Yeah.
Well, let's all stay safe out there.
James, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us for a little while.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I really, really love this, and I'm starting to get used to the technology that makes all of this possible. So I want to thank you both for making the technologies possible for this.
Oh, man, you're welcome. It's fun to stay connected.
Well, you're welcome.
This was fun.
Just trying to bring the holiday together.
Yeah, we gotta stay together.
Well, I've got an engagement I got to get to. But
all right.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Carly. It was great sharing this with you, and this is a nice reminder of what the mornings of the holiday are like.
Yeah.
Early Risers Club presents, and just like in the mornings, we just kind of drift apart.
Yeah.
We don't really end it. It just
falls apart.
Someone gets up and leaves, and it starts the way it ends.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does.
People drift in, people drift out. Love you, James.
Love you, James.
Too,
see you later.
Love you, Carly. Bye-bye.
The Early Risers Club Presents is brought to you by the Holiday Music Motel in beautiful Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, and SteelBridgeRadio.com.